Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And we're back. Freeman Michaels here with Barnet Bain.
And without Raymond Aaron now in this last segment, which is unfortunate because he is one of the more fun people
That guy's great.
He is great.
He's so great.
He is great. So is Karen, his wife, and a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And so much food for thought. I'm chewing. See if I can swallow some of it.
Always a mouthful. Smiling inside my soul. That was great.
Isn't that good?
I'm smiling inside my soul. I think that might be the if we really have a one-liner for reimagining success, I want to be smiling inside my soul. That might be it, you know. And then what's required to get there? Well, I don't know. We just had a long conversation.
Short bridge.
Short bridge. Have a short bridge.
That's pretty good.
And
hard to beat. Have a short bridge.
It's interesting because there's also the short memory. Like when he was talking about the disappointment. Like, yeah, I was disappointed, but I got over it like really fast. Because otherwise, you're not going to take on the next risk. If you're really married to like how disappointing was that, then okay, how long do you want to wallow in that?
Well, I know in my own life the areas of challenge that I face are absolutely connected to the memories that I hang on to.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, well, let him go.
Yeah.
And we are able to degrees to let them go. And then I'm now loving the places, the memories that are still so intense in me, hurts. And, I call them the ghosts of my past that I've been trying to just let go in denial. But I'm now finding that maybe if I just love them and allow them to be, that I will I will change the energy that they are, and then they'll recede by themselves, because we do hold on to our identities, and we do hold on. I'm meandering here. I'm not crystal clear.
Well, let me help, because I think one of the things, at least just what's coming through to me, is, and this is true for you, Barnet, there's a bigger context, right? There's a bigger, I use the word possibility, but there's something.
Bigger unknown.
Yeah, no, and there's something. So look, recently you asked me to just go through a rough cut of a documentary film you're working on, the Rwanda film, which I guess we'll talk about at some point when that's actually going to come out. Beautiful film. And so we did. We sat and played around with it and looked at things, and you took in my feedback, and some of which you said that's a good idea. Most of which you said, but that's perfect. It also reminds me another time when we were up in Idlewild and we wrote that piece, that speech.
Yeah,
for you.
that was great.
That was actually a blast.
That was fun.
And so there's something about the collaborative, creative process. And that's something you have faith in, right? So that you will create something cool in the future, that you will get involved, and it's heartfelt. See, the Rwanda film is heartfelt. And, because one of the things that I marvel at, and it's similar to the conversation we had with Raymond, is the level of commitment it takes to go back, and also the script for Milton. Now there's another draft. I'm like, really? Another draft? Like, please, I've already read 3. But I mean, that's the 3 that I've read, plus the 10 I haven't read.
I sent you the one that I finished yesterday.
Yeah. But that's something, and even as you smile about it, like, it's something that there is something bigger. There's something that I haven't got yet. There's the next step, and the faith in that, and the sense that that's going to be great. That carries through. So the disappointments come too, and the ghosts of Christmas past come too, but the context is bigger. There is this faith that there's something out there for me. There is this faith that there's whether it's a benevolent, loving God or just something that wants to be expressed through me, something of that nature, something yet to be discovered that I'm feeling like I need to in this lifetime. I mean, this is not the course, your career, my career, Raymond's career, that everyone chooses. And I'm not even making it better or worse. I'm just noting that there is something to being an adventurer. And maybe in all of our lives, we have a little adventure. Who knows what an adventure is for another person? I'm not defining it. But all I know is that we started this conversation because you and I both have agreed that the way we've held success is too rigid. And we really want to play with it. We want to reimagine it. We want to play with a bigger, in a bigger field of possibility.
And that field, for me, is not about more stuff.
Right.
Once upon a time it was. And some moments and some days it still is. But in the aggregate, overall, that's really not what it is. Those Maslowian hierarchy of needs at the bottom of your security and your food, and your esteem and your belonging, and at the top your giving. And
Or as Chip Conley framed it, at the bottom it's a job, in the middle it's a career, and at the top it's a calling.
Yes, beautiful.
Or as Kohlberg's theories of moral development, at the bottom it's reward and punishment, at the top it's because there's a principle or a higher value.
So once these things are sufficiently met, if we desire to completely button them down so that they are absolutes and guarantees, that's now control. But once they are sufficiently met, what lies beyond that? What is success beyond that?
So this is a context of evolving. It's the context is discovery. The context is up-leveling. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. The context is aspiring to, right? And it doesn't mean that we don't recognize that we're worried about our safety needs, or it doesn't.
Well, we tend to come from a particular orientation, and as we work through those needs, from surviving to getting a job to a calling, or however it's framed, we're coming from a place of adapting. Eventually, if those needs are met, it certainly is in my own life, it flips. Again, sometimes it flips back, but more and more it flips to not where I have been, but where am I going? What is the opportunity to make of this life a great adventure of contribution? And how does that even look? So I don't have answers for this. I have a lot of questions about it. But I do know is we all operate inside an image of ourselves. And the image of ourselves is constructed out of our ideas that we import from the past. We take them along like suitcases to a train. And if we lay down those suitcases to a train, I did that once. I went to China in 1989 because I wanted to see what it would be like in a place where I had absolutely no connection, and there was no body language, there was no body English, there was no sign. And I went there and I had an anxiety attack, so I quickly came back. but to put down our identity and unpack it bit by bit, not so that you just drop those suitcases and go into anxiety, but unpack it bit by bit, and then just out of our spiritual character and our values and the lines we will and will not cross, to begin to explore something completely unknown. What is that? What is that about? That's an adventure.
This is interesting because in 1989, clearly,
I went exactly 6 weeks after Tiananmen Square, the first on a group that was among the very first.
But here's what I want to illustrate: your ability at that moment, because we talk a lot on the show about developmentally, wherever you were at that time, you weren't ready to handle it.
No.
But what I love about what that illustrates is you're aspiring to was intact there. I'm aspiring to put down my baggage. Okay, maybe I'm not.
Exactly.
But that's brilliant.
Maybe can I just put down yesterday's underwear
first? That's brilliant, because it sort of goes back to the conversation with Raymond. It's like, what would be an audacious thing to undertake? What would really get me out of my comfort zone and really be a growth opportunity?
Old dogs and new tricks.
Yeah.
We are about, you're not an old dog. But we'll revisit this in 15 years. But certainly, I'm not an old dog, but neither is Raymond. But I'm 60. Raymond is in his
Almost
70s,
70,
and he's inspiring because it is always about new tricks.
It is.
and I use tricks, advisedly. It is always about the
unknown,
the next experience, the next virgin experience.
Yeah. So listen, I don't know. We didn't talk about this, but the business piece. All these businesses say, "Yeah, we really want to innovate." The big part of innovating.
They want to control.
Well, this is see, you got to the punchline. But yes, in order to innovate, you have to let go of control. Oh, we don't want to do that. What I love about Raymond, of course, this is why he does so well in business, is that he really is okay with. There's a level of faith and trust.
And he once went through a list of all of the businesses he started.
It's crazy.
There's like 20 or 30 businesses that he started, and disaster, and then he went back to being a physics teacher, and then he'd pay off these enormous debts, and then he'd start like a taxi company. Disaster. A couple years paying off that, teaching physics. And that one after another, until somebody said to him, the one common denominator of all this stuff is you know how to be an entrepreneur. You may not know how to run it once it's going, but you do know. Would you ever think of teaching this to my friend? And then you heard the story.
Yeah, no,
it became the foundation of this gigantic career of grace and contribution to others in the world.
Well, so there's two more things I'm going to add to the list: resourceful and resilient, because he's both resourceful and resilient, to go with his faith and to go with his short bridge.
Talk about resourceful for a minute, because that needs some clarity.
Yeah, so there are resources. You and I have really actually kind of pointed to this. There's resources that we all think of as resources, and there's inner resources. There's a way of sourcing information, quieting the mind, getting in touch with our gut and our heart, and asking and being in the question longer, and there's ways of sourcing and resourcing that do allow us to navigate unknown with a bit more you use the word mastery. I don't know if I'd go that far, but a bit more ability. I don't know if that's the right word, but yes. So the resources and the inner resources,
I would say with a more intimate connection with my truer self, for whom the unknown is simply the waters. It's been said that a mystical experience, for a mystic, it's you thrive, and for somebody unequipped is a place that for psychosis.
Yeah. And it goes back to the business school graduates and the kindergartners. Mm-hmm. Now, we're not over glamorizing being at that stage of development, but clearly there's something in the child where they have, we've called it mature innocence, as that you develop later in life, where you're willing to put down what you've known in favor of the unknown, which is clearly the kindergartner's not that scared of the unknown. Like,
well, they
I don't know.
They don't know a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, so they
have no patterns of success.
That's it. Or patterns of disappointment or whatever. So, and to harken back to language, we actually become proficient at putting the clutch in at our knowing so that we can discover something new and be in that
That's a very, very
state.
Sophisticated faculty of self-knowing is to understand when I am responding out of a habit, whether it's happy habit or patterns, unfortunate or sad patterns or struggle patterns, to be able to recognize that I am not operating in the moment and that I am tuning my choices and decisions and my feelings and my emotions to those of the ghosts of my past. That's a high order of self-awareness.
Yeah, and it comes along.
It doesn't have to be difficult.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. It have to. In moments it might be, but that's okay too. Because again, we go back to something we said earlier, where the context, the aspiring to, is bigger than. Right. I'm more committed to the aspiring to than the from.
The going to bigger than the coming from. Yeah.
It's exciting.
So, what are you aspiring to? I think we have a few more minutes.
2.5.
2.5. Well, let's get into a whole big. Let's unwrap a whole big present.
I'm aspiring to, because this language that we've been using about putting the clutch in, and seeing how often I go to first gear, which makes everything a struggle.
Yeah.
I'm aspiring to putting the clutch in on that. And I'll tell you specifically, with my kids, it's so funny because they really just take cues, and it's so interesting how much the music is lined up. It's cute.
Well, we do our story, and our kids,
Just
we will
follow suit.
always, until we learn to invent our own story, we will always be storied by others. So our kids, I think that's the meaning of the sins of the fathers visited upon the sons.
Yeah.
The people grow up inside the stories of others, and they make those stories their own. And pretty soon, those are the lenses through which they meet all of the unknown and make the unknown known.
Yeah. So putting the clutch in on that, because my kids have, again, similar to the kindergartner, they're slightly older than that, but they do have the ability to go on an adventure. And when I'm in that with them, and in this mature way, life becomes really rich and our relationship becomes really rich and everyone has a lot more fun. And yet I find myself tracking back to the struggle game, which I can do with them all day long, which is really the control game. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting where now look, again, we don't want to oversimplify. There are clearly structures in my children's life that I'm not giving up, and there's control, and it's okay. But looking for the opportunity, similar to what Raymond was saying, where's an opportunity here to go on an adventure? And there are plenty of opportunities for that.
Well, I think I don't have my glasses on, so
I do.
I cannot see that countdown
We're
clock.
saying goodbye to our guests.
We are?
Yeah.
Well, guests?
Oh, not guests. I mean audience.
Same thing, isn't it?
Oh, I
Same
guess,
thing.
yeah.
Same thing. There is the audience that is with us on our broadcast footprint in their cars. To you, we say goodbye until next week. And there are those that listen to us all over the place on YouTube and elsewhere.
Stitcher and Unity.
And our podcast site. We haven't mentioned it for quite some time, www.cuttingedgeconsciousness.com. To you, we say thank you for tuning in. We hope to be with you again next time.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.